So we had just been talking about a certain level of, let's call it voluntary blindness or voluntary contraction.
Right.
That people are probably concerned, not consciously, because I don't think there's a conscious thing, but for fear of being overwhelmed, overloaded, that the conscious mind filters out experience that the mind feels is threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if spiritual experience, or the sense of being connected to something larger, the sense of meaning, the sense of purpose, or the sense that we hold light that is rather intense,
right,
that people close themselves down not to feel, and that may be one of the obstacles to opening to such an experience as you just described.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I went to a debate between David Welpe and Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, I was at that too.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah,
okay,
right.
I didn't know you were. That's why I saw you there. That's right. So for those of people that don't know, David Welpe was voted the top pulpit rabbi in America. And he's written many beautiful, sensitive books about faith. Christopher Hitchens wrote God Is Not Great, this atheist tone, and they debated. And they went back and forth, and Christopher Hitchens said, look, Andromeda Galaxy is going to eventually slam into ours, so what's the point? You know, kind of thing. And David Welpe talked eloquently about God, and it was like this. There was no connection whatsoever, because they were talking totally different levels. Right? One was talking what the mind teaches, one was talking what the intuition teaches, and they're both valid systems.
Yeah.
For many people, there's kind of they have a problem recognizing that intuition is a source of wisdom. And I think men in particular, and I'm one of those people, I tend to go, first to my head, then to my gut. And I'm learning to trust my gut, or at least to combine the two, because they're not opposing, they're both systems that help us. And so there was a moment in that lecture, in that debate, in which Christopher Hitchens says, you know what? I'm sorry, I've never had a spiritual experience. I don't know what you're talking about. And I thought, that should have been the end of the debate. That's the end of the conversation. And
right.
If I was Wolpe, I would have jumped on it and said, well, what are we talking about then?
Yeah.
So, and Hitchens in that moment, I just felt so much, I had this wave of compassion for him, that this man, his dark side is playing out, trying to silence believers, because he never had a spiritual experience. And his mind wouldn't let him let go of the control that the mind has to have that happen. And he's become so invested in this mental image of the dangerousness of religion and a belief in God, which he sees as control-oriented and archaic, that he can't open to that.
Yes.
And we become so invested in our opinions and in our thoughts, and then they define who we are. And to suddenly let go of that and say, I may be wrong, is scary as hell to people.
Yes.
I mean, Harold Kushner said the most spiritual thing you can say is, I may be wrong. That's a wonderful spirit. And until you can say that, I may be wrong, you're going to want to maintain that control. And I think people are closed to these experiences because losing control is frightening.
Yes.
You know, it's like, you're driving down a highway and suddenly, I'm not going to lose control. I'm going to smash into the border. I'm going to go over the cliff. My life is going to be a disaster. I've got to control this wheel,
Right.
And to be able to have the courage to take your hands off for just a minute, or to at least loosen the grip and maybe enjoy the ride instead of your teeth clenched, it is a huge moment for people.
Yeah.
And I consider myself what I call myself a door opener more than a teacher. I want to try at least tell people, hey, there's a doorway you can go through that's going to make your life more meaningful, more purposeful, more fulfilling, more authentic, more real, more loving. I can't really walk with the person into that door. I think other people can help them, or they can do it themselves. But I can at least point them in that direction. And I think the first step of that direction is just letting go of that need to control and embracing a little bit of uncertainty and embracing a little bit of faith, whatever that means to you, that I'm not the master of everything that happens in this world.
What a relief.
Yeah, imagine the relief of that.
Yeah. Yes. What I hear in your teachings too, Alan, is that you're bringing in the two great hemispheres of the world, Our brains have a left hemisphere that think, rationally, scientifically, analytically. Our right hemisphere thinks in much larger global terms. Western thought has taken the linear scientific thought. Eastern thought has remained much more open, embracing the uncertainty, embracing the flow, letting go of the idea that we are, I am David, I am a psychiatrist.
Right,
I am
that's right. Yeah, I am.
These are all the roles we play, but that's not who we are in our essence. So your teachings really hold both the Western religious traditions of, quotes, a God and who gives a message with a call for meaning, for purpose, and the Eastern traditions that say, we really don't know. Get over yourself. Get out of your own mind.
Yeah, right.
Just open. Don't be afraid of not knowing, and be able to sit, and this is where the great meditation traditions come in, be able to sit with what's arising. It's a fear, a feeling, a thought, with realizing that you are not that fear, feeling, or thought. You are having the feeling. But to be able to have a state of mind that can do that can tolerate that, is really quite a difficult process.
Right. I mean, it's what the traditions call non-dualism.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a misunderstanding. I mean, I can't claim to be an expert on non-dualism, but I know a little bit about it. So one of the core teachings, the essence teachings that we started this whole conversation with, is don't live in an either-or mentality. Mm-hmm. We tend to do that.
Right.
I'm either going to listen to my intellect or my guts. I'm either going to be this, or
right.
I'm going to be that. I'll be spiritual, I'll be rational, I'll be good, or I'll be bad. And to kind of put that, at least question those divisions. Mm-hmm. Now that doesn't mean you have to become a postmodernist and say
right.
everything's relative and what's good
right.
for you was bad for me and bad for me. There are absolutes. There's no question about it. And non-dualism doesn't say that things don't manifest differently in this world, because we're not living in nirvana of the world to come. We live in a world where evil does exist, and the potential for evil, and we need to call it what it is,
yes.
and we need to fight it. But to start to realize that there's a dialectic solution that says these things that manifest as opposites have the same source, right? And to go to that source,
like a pendulum, it can swing to this way, it can swing to this way, but if you identify with the top of the pendulum, you see it's the same source.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to over here is good, over here is bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And over here, and at the bottom of the pendulum, over here is good, and over here is bad.
That's right, from that perspective.
Because you can make those decisions.
Yes.
We've been given the free will to make those decisions, and we can choose good. We can choose to connect to the source of our consciousness and live that life of connection, which is maybe the best definition of spirituality. Or we can go the other way and go, no, I just care about me. And I don't care about any of that stuff. And you're free to make that decision, because if you weren't free, there'd be no growth. Right? If we live as robots being told what to do, we don't evolve. And our purpose here is to evolve to a future that we can't even imagine, but that I have faith is going to be glorious beyond our possible imaginings. When we've realized what it really means to be holy in physicality. This is kind of our mission. So that takes us to kind of the outer realms of conversation.
Yes.
And we say, well, what is the source of all this? But to get people to, because it's a koan, right? It is, but it isn't. And to sit with that and go, you know what? That means I can't be certain. And since I can't be certain, let me just let go of that need and let something else enter for a while. Or as I said, at least to not hold the steering wheel so tight, grit your teeth, and bear through it.
Yeah.
Lean back, feel the wind on your face, enjoy the ride. And that's the intention of the book.
Yes. Well, thank you for bringing in your teachings, and may they all continue to arise in all of us.
Well, thank you for this interview. It's really been great, and I knew you would ask the right questions. We didn't prepare any of this in advance.
We entered the uncertainty.
We deliberately entered not knowing what this dialogue would be, and it's really been great. I really
my feelings as well. Good talking to you, Alan.
Stay well.
Okay.
Bye.